What up, Fasters, and welcome back to episode 2 of WTF What the Fahd, the podcast that gives you those WTF moments of clarity as we reveal professional blueprints and strategies that actually work. I'm your host, Fahd, and I'm fired up for today's episode because we have an absolute superstar with us. We're diving deep into the world of security and crisis management, something that I felt dearly with. And she is someone who's making wave across the Asia Pacific region. Now, before we get started, I want to give a huge thank you to our incredible sponsors, TBC Create Homes. If you're looking to transform your living or workspace, whether it's a cozy apartment or bustling office, TBC Create Home is your go-to partner. They specialize in interior design and renovation, working with both residential and commercial budget. Check them out in the link below. Now, with that, I'm here to introduce my guest here. And before she say hi, I just want to give a quick introduction, which is of what she does. So, she is the head of security and crisis management APAC at Boringham Ingelham. I hope I pronounced it right. You can correct me later. Which is a massive role that oversees the protection of people, assets, and reputation for a global pharmaceutical giant. That's not all. She's holding a major position. She's not only holding that position, she is a true expert with over 20 years of experience in corporate security. She worked across diverse sectors from electronics to medical technology and now pharmaceutical. We're talking serious credibility here. Sri's expertise spans security certification, security management, policies and procedures, crisis management, and risk assessment. She holds some impressive credentials, including crisis management certified planner, international crime prevention specialist, and advanced workplace violence and misconduct prevention certification. Plus, she got the CISM and CRISC certification from ISACA. We'll deep dive into what those certification means. So, Sri, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
I'm really excited to have this opportunity to talk to you because I'm in the same field as you, and throughout how many years in this career, especially in the crisis management realm, I've been here for the last about almost a decade, and
Right.
usually it's always been a male environment, and to see a female
Right.
who is wearing a hijab and at the pinnacle of your career at the region, right? I am so honored to see that you have succeeded this far, and
Thank you.
I'm really glad to have this conversation with you. Now, before we even start, let's just walk through your career of when you first started, maybe once you first graduate, then your first work, all the way to where you are right now.
Right. Absolutely. So, it's sometimes people say, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" Right. I remember saying, "I want to be a doctor. I want to be a policewoman," and such. But really, I think at the end of the day, where life leads you. So I graduated with a diploma in electronics, computer, and communication. My late father said, "Engineering, do that." But even that, it's a male-dominated. I was like a handful of girls in that course. But anyhow, I took his advice. I graduated, and I started my first job as a customer service engineer. So what I did was, it's a support on-field customer service engineer. I went on client side to do printer repair. I do computer repair, hardware service as well. And I was there in the CSA, it's the company that I was in, for about 3 years. And in my second year, I was outsourced to Singtel, which is our biggest communication company in Singapore, as the mobile office engineer. So what I did was I supported walk-in customers to program their phones to have access to the internet. That's when GPRS, before all our 2G, 3G, 5G now. So I was doing that. And after doing that for about 3 years, I took a break. And I was asking myself, what do I want to do? I intended to continue my studies. But while I was doing that, I was also exploring what else is in the market. And then I came across, actually, I applied to go for a PE, physical education proficiency, or the physical test with the Ministry of Education. I thought, I like that.
Become a teacher.
Yes, to become a PE teacher. So I was like, okay, maybe I should do that. While I've booked a date for the test. So I was training for it, but I was still looking, what's there. And there was a job opening for a security system technologist. It's like, system technologist, this is interesting. All right, submitted my resume and I got a call for the interview. And when I was looking at the company, I realized, oh, one of my ex-polymate is working there. So I just reached out to her and said, hey, I'm coming to your office to do interview. She says, oh, cool, come. But she wasn't the hiring manager. Anyhow, she vouched for me after that interview, and I got the job. So that job was handling security system application from access control system, readers, access control. We have our intrusion detection, CCTV. I don't have experience in that, but I know computer. Right, so how hard can that be? So I was outsourced to a client's location site, and it was Motorola. But it didn't last long. I was there for maybe 8 months because the security department manager said, Sri, we like you. Would you like to join our team? So, okay, this is interesting. And during that period when I was at Motorola, it was a manufacturing site. So we were producing V9 phone, the Razor. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I love that phone.
So that was manufactured in Singapore. And you can imagine it was, I think, the best-selling handphone. And you can imagine the number of people trying to smuggle it out. And so I had that experience in that department thinking, wow, this is exciting because they were doing investigation and I was doing the perimeter, right? The security system like access control, metal detector installation. So I was doing calibration for all that. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And so when I got that invitation, all right, let's see what it is. So I was offered the position as a loss prevention officer. So what I did was I transitioned into doing more investigation, supply chain security, and then the factory is always changing. And because we were really booming back then, we had more sites, expansion, having warehouse. And that was where, I was really grateful with my manager then, my supervisor giving me that opportunity, guiding me, doing how we do security assessment. I was doing third-party security assessment. And I was like, okay, I really, really enjoy this. And with that, I was really sent to a lot of courses, how to do interview, how to conduct assessment, audits. And I just thought, okay, I think corporate security is it. I'm really loving it. So when we were expanding from one site and we had 2 sites and we were managing warehouses or rather third-party warehouses, I said, this is good. So from one side responsibility, I had the opportunity to set up a new location. So it was really from scratch, designing the security system and having it installed, testing and all that. And when my manager left, I had that opportunity to then lead or rather take over his role and said, okay, I think I can do it. It's a progression. And I was actually in Motorola for 12 years in total. But during that span, it was that increase of responsibility from one side to 2 sides, and then I was taking care of ASEAN. And from there, when so Motorola had a split. So from Motorola, we had Motorola Solutions and Motorola Mobility. So Google bought over Motorola Mobility. I stayed on to Solution, which is the government network part of the company. And further to that, at the end of that 12 years, there was further divestiture. Zebra Technologies bought half of the Motorola Solutions business.
Okay.
And my boss back then, he was asking me, so Sri, Zebra is buying over part of a company that is twice the size, right? And they don't have a security department. I think it's a good opportunity for you to join them. I'm going to put your name up to go over. I was like, wow, this is really disappointing because I love what I was doing with the team that I was working with. But I said, this is a great opportunity because you will then now cover Asia Pacific. It's going to be more. You will cover India and China, and it's a great progress for you. I was like, okay, all right, put my name in. I will take up this job. So as you see there, it was growing. in terms of regional area. But what was also interesting with this position was they don't have a proper security program globally. So I had then the opportunity to be with a group of Motorola team that was joining Zebra Technologies in growing or running the security program from the global. So I was involved in the initial stage of setting up a security program for the company. And on top of that, taking care from scratch. But because of our experience and the size of Motorola solution teams that go over, we replicate a lot of what we had from Motorola solution. So yes, from scratch, changing it, but adapting it to Zebra technology. So it's kind of like you have this opportunity to really build something, and it was nice. I was there for 3 years, and when things are all set up, I was okay. Things are moving smoothly. I was like, what's next? And coincidentally, in the network, I was out in some of networking, and one of my industry colleagues said, "Sri, I'm leaving my company. I'm jumping ship. I have another opportunity." And I was like, "Okay, so your position is available then?" I said, "Maybe I'll be interested. Can you share the job posting?" And I did. And what is also interesting is, he knew me before, and he vouched for me, recommended for me as well in that position. And again, I went for the interview and everything else, and I got that position. And that was Medtronic. And what I was also looking at is from Motorola Solutions, Zebra Technology, which is electronic industry. And while the work you say is the same, but then it's a different industry. So that was one of the pull factor for me to, I would say, jump ship, but I think it's more for my own progress as well. All right, it's the same thing I'm doing, but it's a different industry, so there must be some difference there. So I jumped into that MedTech, medical technology, Medtronic. So I was in Medtronic close to, I think, 6 years. And during that time in Medtronic, I had the best time. I had like the best team. I had the best manager I was reporting to based in Netherlands. I was really happy. I had a few come knocking my door. Sri, there's an opportunity. I think you fit. Nope, I'm happy. Nope, I'm happy. But towards that 5th year, when people keep knocking, and the position is higher than what I was holding. I was a senior manager in Medtronic. And I was like, okay, I'm comfortable here. There are a lot of things that we still need to be done. But there is this opportunity coming in. Okay, let me see. I gave a try when this pharmaceutical company reached out and say, I think you would be a good fit. Would you like to try? I said, okay, let's test the market and see what's there. So I came to the stage where, I was the final candidate. They were offering me. I said, okay, what should I do? So I went to my boss, my direct boss. I have a weekly call with him. I said, boss, I have something to ask you. And he was like, okay, what's going on? Tell me. So I spoke to him of this opportunity that came knocking. And he said, I wasn't looking, but I was just curious as well. And the question he asked me was, okay, so what is stopping you? You and our great team and a lot of things that we need to do. He made it clear. He said, Sri, if you were to stay here, it'll take you at least another 2 years to get that role, to get that position. It's here now. It's your time. Go. And I said, you just need to say, I have your blessing, and I will happily go away. He says, you have my blessing. Go. This is your time. All right. So what I learned from here, right, you take up more additional role as you grow. I already say from the bottom, I really climb up, right? And then you expand. People say, you were in 12 years in Motorola. Yes, but I had 4 different roles. So which means every 3 years, that's something new that I'm taking. So that, to me, is progression. And then switch to an opportunity to be having a bigger responsibility. And after that, all right, let me see, I want to switch industry, right? And from there, it's just the next stage. More responsibility, taking new challenges, different industry. And you see, different company. When you look at Motorola, for example, handphone, it's people would be going after it. So supply chain, you see operation in your manufacturing plant is different versus a MedTech company where we were producing heart pacemaker. Who would want to take it out easily compared to a handphone? So those are the things that I really learn, and I'm just thinking, oh gosh, there's so much of things that is different, even though we're in the same industry, right? In corporate security, but there's just so much things. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how I've really grown to where I am now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is an interesting story. And actually your story resonates very close to my career path as well. I also started as diploma, same to you, electronic, telecommunication, and microelectronic and computer engineering.
Yeah.
And then by the second year, you got to focus on where you want to go. So same thing, didn't know where I want to go. My parents take engineering. Yeah. So interesting. So with that, right now, it is an interesting role that you have been in Motorola for about 12 years, right? You were saying. And then how long are you in this current company?
So 2 years, slightly over 2 years now.
Slightly over 2 years.
Yep.
So you start off with Motorola, 12 years, and then you go to Zebra, how many
3
years?
years.
3 years, and then Medtronic.
Medtronic, close to 6 years.
6 years, and then this company. So with that, right, I just want you to share your thoughts. There's no right and wrong answer here, but nowadays, people tend to jump ship in the next 2 years jump because they're thinking that every 2 years I jump, there's about 10% increment, 15% increment. So what I have my own thoughts on that, but I think we share the same thoughts, seeing that our career path is similar in nature as well. So from your perspective, having stayed in Motorola for 12 years.
That's the longest, yes.
That's the longest. And then Medtronics for another,
Almost 6 years.
6 years,
yes.
right? Yeah. So what do you have to say to that? Is it something that you think that is good to jump like every 2 years, or would it be better for you to stay and learn, and once you get all of the information, then you're ready to step up to the next phase of your career?
I think for me, I mean, like you said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's all individual preference and what you aspire to get, right? For me, when I was in Motorola, that was really the start of my career. The first 3 years I was so thankful and grateful to have great mentors that's willing to teach me, right? And I think from there, I was really benefiting being there. And each time I jump or expand my role, I was learning something. I was always learning something new. So for me, it's not just about dollars and cents. To me, when I realized in the first 8 months when I was a system tech outsourced to Motorola, I realized, this is really an interesting industry to be in. This function is, really at the background, but they're doing a lot of things. And that was, I would say, a calling. I found my calling in that sense, and I realized, there's really a lot to learn. So during my time in Motorola, really that built my base, right? From what I see is, if you think or you found your calling, spend some time to build that foundation. So for me, that 12 years was an investment for me to build my foundation. And I came out saying, yes, I'm an expert because I understand this really from scratch. Yes, in terms of compensation, perhaps if I were to change company, I would get that 10-15% increment each time. But for me, during that period I'm really interested in this industry, in this function. I want to learn. And this is really my hands-on opportunity to really learn. So it really depends. I would say if someone is really interested and you're new to this industry, and if you found a place where you are able to learn, and the company gives you development program, right? Send you for courses. I think that's also a benefit, not just
Yeah.
dollar and cents.
Correct.
So for me, during that period, at 12 years, was really, take it like a doctor doing residency, right?
Yeah.
You need to be there, you need to get your hands dirty, learned, and not just jump ship. So I took it that way. It was really an investment for myself to really learn, and
Yeah.
especially when you have a company that will invest on your development, sending you to courses, making sure that you have that capability. I think that's a win for me.
Great. I think I resonate whatever that you have said. So just to sum up to our listeners, right? I think once you found the calling, and I know that a lot of those who are still new in their career, it's all about dollars and cents. But as what Sri has mentioned is, when you found a calling, let's not look at dollar and cents first. Look at how that company will help you grow in your career. I think that's more important. So as you can see how she has grown in the career in Motorola helped to develop her, learning all of the different things within security, the systems, management, and all of that. Once you have everything all there, then when you jump ship, you are so valuable already. I think at the early start of your career is make the investment to bring that value, that you can bring to the organization. So concentrate on developing on yourself before you make that jump. So I think that's a really, really good advice on that. With that, I want to jump into like certification and skills, because you're saying that yes, the company is investing in you in lots of things. You have a lot of certification. And for those who wants to go into the security industry or the crisis management industry, like what would you advise based on the certification that you get, the skills that you get, so that people can take this certification if they want to follow your path?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, if you look at the job postings that they have, we see out in the market, they say preferred with certification. The reason is why? Why do companies state that? Even when I'm hiring, I would put that as well. That is one way to see if someone has the competency, right? So if you're someone new in the industry, that certification, it's an entry point for you. Because when they are doing shortlisting, we will look at candidates who have, all right, if you have 5 years experience, but you invest yourself on other certifications to say, that's number one, is to show that, yeah, I'm invested in myself. I want to learn what is in the industry, what are the best practices. So certification to me is important, right? But there are many certifications. What should I take? And I think it all also depends on, number one, if you find your passion, right? Once you find your passion, go for it. So the certifications that I have from ISACA 2, CISM and CIRIS. These are related to security, cybersecurity. But why? Because we see now in the industry, there's a hybrid between physical and IT security. And I took up that position to also understand how it is linked and would I want to go into there. Right? I have my experience in my physical or corporate security. So in Medtronic, I picked up those 2 certificates. And we had our security is a hybrid as well. So we have our IT security and physical security, and we're working closely together. So I took that certification, and I was taking up more projects with the IT security team, right? So I took the project with them. It was 6 to 1 year while doing my corporate physical security work. At the end of that, I realized, I like my corporate physical security better, right? So for me, even after 15 years to almost by then of having physical security, I still want to test. I still want to see what's my calling, what do I like, and that concluded for me firmly. All right, physical security, crisis management, that's really what I enjoy most. So even when you're in mid-career, right, it's still something that you need to explore. And I think having this certification gives you that background first, and then get into projects, raise your hand up and say, hey, I have this, I want to learn more. Put yourself out there. And you have to do more than your basic requirement. But I think, again, to me, it's investment in yourself. So my advice for those who wants to get into industry, go for this type of certification to understand what are the basic in that role, and look out for projects related to that, right? And again, like I said, when we look at job posting, certification is that first, I would say, assessment that hiring managers or companies will look at. Unless you have 20 years experience already, I think by that time it's usually the other way around, where the headhunter will become knocking on your door.
Yeah.
But until you reach at that level, I think it's really something that you need to build for yourself.
Okay. On that note, right, what would you advise? Certification, that's on certification, and I agree with that. In terms of degree, right, would you recommend people to go for a degree or masters, or if the diploma is just enough and then you just go for certification? What are your thoughts on that?
The reality is,
Yeah.
especially if you work in MNCs, the minimum is a degree, bachelor degree. Why? Because when you look at MNCs, they have structure, right? And part of structure, they also have requirement for certain level to have at least a bachelor degree, right? And I would say the best is to really expose yourself to an MNCs, because that gives you the best or rather most opportunity in climbing the corporate ladder, as they say. And the basic is you will need that, right? Because it's just part of the structure, salary structure. Certain level needs certain qualification, and that's the reality of it. And going back to that, and that was the advice that my manager gave back then, when I was in Motorola. He says, Sri, pick that up, right? Take up a degree course, because that will help you in your career. I said, okay. So I was really slogging 3 years doing, part-time degree course while doing a full-time work on 24/7 standby, and it paid off, right? It really matters especially when you're in MNC setup, right? And even if you look at opportunities overseas, they would ask, what is your qualification in terms of education as well? Because even if people coming in Singapore, certain level qualification is required for an S-Pass or whatever the level is. That's just the reality of life. So yes, I think unless you are working in a company that's maybe more local, right? Perhaps they would not look at that, more on experience and what you can do. But if it's MNC's corporate life, it will be, I would say, highly recommended to have.
Okay. I think talking to you, right, it feels like I'm speaking to a mirror right now, because everything that you're saying really resonates exactly what I do. It's the same with my career as well. That's interesting, and I think there's so much that we can talk about in our industry, but I know we have a time limit. What I wanna deep dive now is gonna be a bit of contentious discussion, but if you're comfortable, I do want our listeners to know if the whole reason of us doing this is to show your career blueprint, so that people would have informed decision if they want to make a commitment to go into this industry, and at the same time also they want to also like to know, like, hey, if I'm going to make a commitment, let's say 5-10 years to go into this industry, what is the outlook in terms of the benefits as well? So from your perspective, you don't need to give me an exact number, but in terms of the compensation package for someone who wants to go into this industry, and for someone who, like yourself, who is a head of a region, right? What's that rough compensation, be it in terms of like benefits, the package, the stocks, RSU, and all of this? Like, from your perspective, could you just share that to our listeners?
Yeah, surely. Someone once told me, he says, Sri, if you're working within the next 10 years, if your salary is not double by then, you're in the wrong industry, or you're stagnant in that sense. So what do you mean? So if I earned 5,000 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I must reach 10,000 by then. He says, yeah, you should set a target. Yes, I think I take that. I do have certain targets that I have for myself. By 30, I want to have a car in Singapore. That's quite difficult. Alhamdulillah, I managed to. And so I put in little targets to myself, for myself, right? And then we talk about, all right, so in our industry, how much are people earning? In corporate security, it also depends on the industry that you're working in, right? If you go to compare Financial Institute, it's different. If you talk about electronics, you talk about pharmaceutical, it's all different. And it's not just the base salary, right? You have to look at restricted stock unit. But even all companies, even the companies that are unlisted, sometimes it's only in a HQ, right? For example, like one company that I was working with, the RSUs are only for people in the HQ, or rather in the company, in the country where the HQ is, but not outside. Some company does that as well. When I was moving to Beringa, so we're not listed, it's a company-owned, it's a family-owned company. So I was like, okay, tell me, all right, base salary, yes, that's the compensation. I said, what else do you give as a compensation? I said, nope, we don't have stock, all right, but we have, we call it variable bonuses every year, and depend. Oh, it's more lucrative than I had been offered before. Okay, what else? How about other benefits? The family is also included in terms of health benefits, and it's really on a higher tier. So, okay. So I actually look at it in the overall, right? So you have to consider what are the base salary. If you think you are aiming just for, okay, every month I want to bring home this, I don't care about anything else, go for it. There are companies that don't give 13 months, but they have it included already in your monthly salary. But overall, look at it annually. Is the annual compensation good, right? So if you look at overall compensation, I would have to say in this industry is good, right? Especially for crisis management or BCM, business continuity management. It is really a focus area in the industry, and I would say you would bring in a lot for yourself if you have that experience. But again, I would always remind people to look at the overall compensation. It's not just what you bring home every month, right? There are also companies like my company now where we talk about people development, which is very crucial. For me, if you hear from my experience, development, self-development is very important for me. And also for my team members. And it's not just, oh, only the manager get it. No, everyone in my team, I have to ensure that they have a development plan. And when I hire, I said, yes, in terms of progress, this is what we see, how we want to grow the team. And to me, that's a benefit. That's a big benefit. So yeah, in terms of that, you really have to look at the overall package. Yeah.
Okay. If I were to, and again, if you don't answer this, fine. But if you were to give a number, a range for that overall compensation for someone who wants to go to this industry, who is managing a region. So if you look at like the industry, for you to manage a region, probably you take at least about 10 to 15 years in the industry to hold that region. So managing a region in this industry, is there like a range of figure at the overall package? I could say, could it be we're hitting about 200K and above around that region for someone who is in this industry?
So it also depends, right? When you say head of the region, so there are also different level to it, because
Correct.
we do have senior managers for the region, and then we have the director level or the head of the region as well. So it all depends. I can say once you reach senior manager level, expect to start hitting the 5-figure range, right? And then you can multiply it as you grow higher. So yes, 200K would be something that you can expect for somebody in the director level.
Okay. All right. That's good, and I think that's good for our listeners to know if they want to go into this industry. And I'll say this industry is quite stressful, because you're managing crisis here, people,
Yes.
and that's why it pays well. But again, you really need to invest in yourself, learn the ropes before you can actually manage a crisis, because you really need to understand all the nitty-gritty stuff before going to a management level, to deal with senior C-suite, because when you're managing crisis,
Yep.
it's all with senior leadership.
Exactly.
All right. Before we end this discussion, I could go on and on to talk to you about this industry, because industry is an industry that I know really well. It's close to my heart. But knowing that we're almost out of time, I do want you to share some golden nuggets to our listeners before we close off. So over to you.
Yeah. I think importantly is to stay humble and continue your lifelong learning, right? I cannot emphasize that enough. That's really important. And number 2 is networking, right? Network, know the people around you, understand the industry, because things are moving so fast. Only by networking, getting to know, build your credibility in the network. I can say a few of the roles that I get here, that I have gotten, is due to recommendation, because people vouch for you, right? So that's how you build your brand. Oh, Sri, yeah, she's dependable. Sri, oh no, please, no, just not to talk only,
Yeah.
but no action, right? So I think networking, be humble, do your lifelong learning, never be shy, continue networking. And number 3, I think coaching, mentoring. If you find someone that really can mentor you, keep that going and pay it forward as well. In a sense where if you can find a mentee, someone reach out to you to ask to be a mentor, go ahead, right? And I think I'm really an advocate for that.
All right, I think that is such a good advice, and I love that, that you finding a mentor, and at the same time, once you reach a certain level, you pay it forward as well. So, Sri, thank you so much for your time here.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the time having this discussion with you, and for all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. This is our second podcast, so if you like it, please like, subscribe, and share to your fellow friends to help you in your career. Until next time, stay curious and keep chasing your goals. Thanks, everyone.